Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the witnesses for being here today. I just want to follow up with Mr. Warren. And you had mentioned in your discussions the United Steelworkers represent about 225,000 members in the steel, aluminum, and mining sector. Workers, and you had mentioned the workers are the backbone to Canada's EV supply chain. I just want to follow up on my colleague's line of questioning earlier. You had mentioned you were having discussions with parties about your concerns of the carbon tax ramping up in the coming years and the impact on the Canadian steel industry. So specifically, I mean, what is the union specifically asking for? You had mentioned a carve out in your opening comments. So who are you speaking to? I mean, what have you requested from this government, and what has been their response?
Yeah, well, it's been jointly with the steel producers, and if you listen to the steel producers, they raise a lot of issues. I don't know, they raise issues about just investment, the technology, the further technology they need to have to get where they need to go. I think every steel producer that we're with um, wants to be a green steel producer, but again, it's the attraction of investment, and if it's uncertain grounds, there's a concern about investment. So I would say that it's best I could say it's a work in progress. I think every party, all three parties, we did not, or I did not visit the block that day. My apologies. There was the NDP who came later, was the Conservatives and Liberals, and I think they all understood that how important a steel industry is to call yourself a nation, aluminum industry, and I think it's going to take further discussions. Obviously, we're doing a lot of work this Sue around electric arc furnaces, so that's going to be helpful. But again, I think it's an open dialogue. I don't think you can say the current plan won't work, but we're just now kind of raising some flags to say, hey, sometimes one shoe doesn't fit all, and the steel industry might need a longer ramp up or some other things. But I think it's important to say that we all agree, steel producers and ourselves, that producing green steel
Well,
or
to your point, Mr. Warren, and I think it is important that we have these discussions. You know, we don't operate in isolation, particularly when it comes to other issues and policies impacting the sector. And specifically, I mean, back in November of 2022, Ms. Gingrich appeared here when we were doing a study of the Inflation Reduction Act. And during her testimony, she did say this: we do have some concerns that the IRA's incentive for firms to invest in clean technology, absent any carbon tax, provide a double advantage to U.S. steel producers. She also testified later on, I think the combination of the lack of a price on carbon in the United States and the provisions of the IRA could put the Canadian steel industry at a disadvantage, including our members. So it seems this government, if steel workers aren't being undermined by the Liberals on carbon tax at home, they're being undermined by the Liberals letting artificially cheap Chinese-made EV, steel, and aluminum into Canada. And for many years, they've been undermining Canada on both. So do you agree? And what are your comments on this?
I guess my initial comments would be that there's been two different approaches. In the US, it's been kind of a carrot approach where, with the amount of monies and different pots of monies they're offering up to incentivize a big industry to go green, is that approach. And the steel producers and other producers would say Canada's using more of a stick approach, fall in line or else the costs go up each year up until 2030. So again, I don't think I'm ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I do believe that it's an issue that we'll continue to discuss to find out what's right, to find out how it works. Because I do want to say this, and it might be out of the wrong spot, but it's so important for every one of us on this call, for our kids and our grandkids. This is a chance to belong to a new economy. Quite frankly, we lost.
Yeah, but Mr. Warren, if I could, what does that stick approach that this federal government has decided to take, what does the risk to those 225,000 members?
The risk.
What does it mean for Stelco, for example, in Hamilton, which was recently purchased by a firm in the United States? What is that stick approach and the cost in terms of carbon? What does that mean to those Canadian workers that live in Hamilton? What does that mean for them?
the risk,
You
the
have
risk,
10 seconds, sir,
yeah,
for an answer. Either I don't think you can get an answer in that particular time. I will